experiment. You do know that there is no such thing as a blue raspberry, and yet a lot of people said that blue was blue raspberry. So where did we get the meaning of raspberry and blue? Um, However, I really saw that you each understood what a color meant. Well, when a color communicates something, that means the color has some meaning, so it has some semiotics, and it's an analogy. For instance, red is strawberry. Well, red isn't really a strawberry, it's like a strawberry. So when you see the color red and you think strawberry, that's the uh, analogical code. Of course, colors don't have taste at all. And so when you see yellow and you don't think lemon, you think banana, you've been influenced somehow, somewhere, that certain colors have certain meanings that may not be true. For instance, blue raspberry is a marketing gimmick, and now you're convinced that they're real. One of the things that really bothers me is that Coke has the new space flavored Coke, and the bottle's not filled with space. And one of my students explained to me that, well, space, they found out, tastes like raspberries, which you don't really know. And then he said, well, it tastes like raspberries, but there were no raspberries in it. So you're putting chemicals and carbonation and sugar in your body, convinced that it tastes like space, and it's all just a fantasy. So sometimes advertisers will really influence us with colors and shapes that we associate. For instance, stars and sparkles on the space flavored Coke, or making the space flavored Coke raspberry colored. It misguides you into believing, oh yes, I've seen this, so I know it. So one of the things I want to do with you on your visual literacy is to realize that there are images all around us that are influencing us one way or the other. Sometimes they're really in the background and we're unfamiliar with them as really saying anything. For instance, the Confederate statues just being in the background for years. Other times you're surrounded by it and you don't realize that you are. For instance, a grocery store. And one of the things I'd like for you to do is go through the grocery store after we talk about a little bit of stuff and look at the packaging. And I'm going to be analyzing the packaging that you see in the grocery store to see how colors and lines and shapes might influence you. Okay. So on this part of semiotics, I wanted to explain why some people understand certain lines and shapes to have certain kinds of meaning. And the reason that shapes might have meaning, for example, is biorhythmic, your body rhythms. And before you were born, you were experiencing biorhythms. When you were in your mother's stomach, you would hear her heartbeat, boom, 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 boom. You would hear her breathing. Maybe her walking. Now, if you heard in utero, bum, 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 or then you might feel a little anxiety. Walking makes you notice it. So even numbers are quieting and calming, and odd numbers are exciting. So if I'm designing a package of potato chips, I'm going to have most likely odd number of potato chips. If I'm a bank, my advertising might be very solid, 2 columns, 4 columns, even, stable. This goes further into the line direction. Okay, so the direction of the lines, like maybe a label will be horizontal or vertical, or maybe the font will be really vertical or accentuated horizontal. It's also biorhythmic. Vertical lines mean strength and power. And the reason for that is that if I want to stand up to somebody and I want to pull on my inner strength, I stand up very tall and I become very vertical. Um, if I want to seem relaxed, the more I lay back and become horizontal, the more relaxed and calm it is. So horizontal lines are calm and relaxed. Diagonal lines imply energy and movement. And that's because if I don't move, I have very vertical or horizontal lines. But as I start to move, my body needs to become more diagonal. And if you imagine somebody walking or somebody running, the more diagonals there are, the more active they seem. Runners have more diagonals in their body than somebody who's walking. So diagonals imply energy and movement. Now, we have lines, so we call it like a line orientation: vertical, power and strength; horizontal, calm and peaceful; diagonal, energy. Now, there's also something called line quality. And I bet that if I told you to draw an angry line, you might all draw something similar. Draw a bored line, draw a confused line. And you might laugh and doodle, but I would wager that if we took cell phone pictures and posted them, if I named like anger, boredom, confusion, there would be very little variance in the type of lines you'd make, just scribbling, yet nobody's talked to you about that. So one of the other ways that lines can signify, semiotic word, is also by their implications. Like balloon-like letters are tall and thin letters. And I often use an analogy here to lines that you're used to in literature. So for instance, when you think of a line, you probably think of it as a geometric line segment, and you don't think of these like emotional qualities to a line. So I'm going to translate it. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. God. Oh, God, Mary. Oh, God. Mary had this little lamb, and its fleece was wet as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, oh, the lamb was sure to go. Mary had this little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. Everywhere that Mary went, that lamb was sure to go. Now, I know that was silly, but you really quickly picked up on a straight line versus a line that had some kind of variance to it, whether it was a depressed, oh God, Mary, or a sinister, ha, the lamb. Sometimes letters are sharp or jagged, or lines might be flowing and curvy. Sometimes lines are airbrushed into packages that might make you think of movement or energy. This product will give you energy and movement because it has lines on the package. So there's both line orientation that's very important when you're looking at analyzing paintings or analyzing products. And then there's the quality of the line, whether it's sharp, jagged, floating. So you can also add emotional qualities to lines, just like you have emotional qualities to color, the color red. Shapes also have meaning that are somewhat biorhythmic. So for instance, a circle means love, nurturing, the cycle of life, something eternal because it's continuous. So like a continual love. It also represents nurturing because a hug. So if somebody hugs you or welcomes you, you've got the circle. A triangle depends on the orientation, whether it's like this or this. But I said that a horizontal is calm. I said diagonals are movement. So if I have a calm upward movement, a calm upward movement, that seems to be spiritual. If, however, the triangles are tilting at different angles, it's like high energy. It'll remind you of kites, sailboats. So if you're looking at a package of tortilla chips or you're looking at a package of cereal, it may be that they are put in diagonal positions to make it seem like this will give you energy. Um, Vertical lines mean strength, right? Horizontal lines mean calmness. So a square is kind of like calm power. That means stability, um, something you can count on. A square be there or be square, a square meal. That combines the strength with the calmness. Now, if you have something that's taller, like this, a rectangle, this means a lot more strength with a little bit more calmness. So you might have like the strength of a drink, but still it's going to keep you a little calm. In a painting, you might have like the king that's very strong and tall, and yet there's a sense of calmness in this rectilinear shape. Likewise, a horizontal rectangle. If you have a square that's more horizontal than vertical, it's more like a calm strength, a calm knowing, a calm stability. Interestingly, on bottles of water, you almost always see like a blue strip on it. They're almost always a horizontal band. The blue, of course, makes you think of blue, clear water. Water's not blue. They usually have a picture of mountain springs. It probably came out of a tap. And then it has like blue and white on it. So it seems to be like pure and natural. Now, you don't know whether that water came out of a mountain spring or a toilet. So they have to convince you mountain spring. You can trust this company. It's very blue. It's pure. There's likely to be some white or white lettering. There's usually a spot of red. You're going to love it on water bottles. So horizontals make you want to like trust it. Let's see. Um, Ovals, see, I'm trying to remember all the shapes I want to tell you. Ovals can be kind of like a tired circle. They can kind of feel drooping. I guess what I'm trying to say is that whenever you see a shape leaning in a certain way or traveling in a certain way, it has some meaning that it's trying to convey to you. So the circle, love and nurturing, the square, stability, a tall rectangle, powerful yet calm. A horizontal rectangle would be peaceful, but having some strength. Triangles, if they're equilateral, are spiritual. And if they're different sizes and shapes moving in diagonals, it means energy, something dynamic. So when you look at products in the grocery store, if you add the taste of a color that doesn't really exist, the emotion of a color, and colors don't have emotion, and the shapes and lines I talked to you about, you'll start to realize that these colors, shapes, lines that are all around you in a grocery store are really designed to, reach out and message something to you. And they don't want you to be aware of that. It can be really funny to look at it. For instance, Mountain Dew, not a very natural drink. And yet they have trees and, evergreen, and it's in the mountains and it's dew. So it seems so natural. There's a lot of diagonal triangles on the Mountain Dew because it's going to give you energy. The Gatorade has a lightning bolt on it because it's going to give you a jolt of orange, really natural energy. So you are being subliminally manipulated, I guess.